There was a lot going on in 1975 for Philadelphia International. Not all of it was good. I mean, yes, the music was wonderful, but you could tell where there was a split. Like Philly International from 71 to 75 isn't the same as 76 to, I guess we'll say, Teddy's car crash around 81, 82. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the fourth installment of MFSB Mondays here on the Groove Line with your boy Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you wonderful people are doing well out there. Hopefully, y'all had a good weekend. Not going to waste too much time. We're going to talk about the fourth album in the MFSB catalog. We're going to go to November of 1975 in Philadelphia Freedom. And it's very interesting to note that the MFSB, there's this sort of gothic looking font of the MFSB logo shooting out of the American flag, which is shooting out of what appears to be some sort of, I don't know, a dome or a sort of a spaceship. And you've got black clouds in the background, and I don't know if that's the moon or the sun in the underneath the black clouds, but it's a very interesting album cover. And as we talked about prior, there was a lot of consternation going on and conflict with the band members of MFSB, with Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. And of course, by the time this album came out in November of 75, the Baker Harrison Young crew pieced out. That I think Bobby Eli was a part of those defections to SalSoul Records as well. So there was a lot going on in 1975 for Philadelphia International. Not all of it was good. I mean, yes, the music was wonderful, but you could tell where there was a split. Like Philly International from 71 to 75 isn't the same as 76 to, I guess we'll say, Teddy's car crash around 81, 82. But Philadelphia Freedom, it is a love letter to the city. And of course, as this album is coming out near the trail end of 75, beginning of 76, you have the bicentennial. And we know, if anything about America, as corrupt as this country has always been and it has been and will continue to be, it loves a good party. And the bicentennial was a reason for people to, wave the American flag and all of that good stuff. Matter of fact, if you guys didn't know, every All-Star game outside of the NFL Pro Bowl in 1976 was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The NHL All-Star game at the Spectrum, the NBA All-Star game at the Spectrum, Major League All-Star game, Veterans Stadium. Philly was the spot in 75, 76. And just, listening to Philadelphia Freedom, you get the sense that this is Kenny and Leon trying to mend fences at the last minute. But a lot of the guys who felt like they were being paid peanuts said, you can't fix this, dog. We gone. And I did call Universal Love the last hurrah, but Philadelphia Freedom definitely has its moments. I mean, let's start with the cover track, the title track, which is, of course, a big hit, which was written by Elton John and Benny Taupin, which was one of the big records of 1975. And of course, if you're going to do an album called Philadelphia Freedom and you're going to shout out the bicentennial, you got to really put your best foot forward. And the MFSB cover of Philadelphia Freedom sticks true to the vest of the Elton John version, but there's still, some Philly International flourishes, Philly soul flourishes in there. And of course, they also did Smile Happy by War, which was from another monster album from 1975, Why Can't We Be Friends? So the two covers on this album are very strong. They're very, powerful. They're very Philadelphia International centric, but there's a underlying message in every song that Philly International does. Like, for one, there's shouts out to, certain hot spots. Like, the South Philly is probably one of the songs from that first half of Philadelphia International success in the 70s that does not get enough credit because it is just so sweet and easy going. Like, you could picture this on a summer Sunday afternoon in South Philly or even Germantown or even Overbrook, West Philly, North Philly, Camden. And people forget there is no East Philly. Camden is East Philly. But yes, South Philly is just so sweet. I mean, Leon Zachary saxophone. And then, of course, you have the Sweethearts of Sigma, Carla Benson, who's been on this show, her cousin Barbara Ingham, and her best friend Yvette Benton. South Philly, South Philly. It seems like a summer Sunday afternoon where the elders are watching the kids play out on the block, on the porches or the row houses, or somebody, or even the grandmothers is in the house cooking or whatever. And it just sets a beautiful picture of mid 1970s Philadelphia, South Philly to be exact. And of course, Ferry Avenue, that leads to the whole East Philly Camden aspect, because that song was co-written by Leon Huff and the late Victor Carr-Starford Sr., who of course were from Camden, New Jersey. G. McFadden and John Whitehead also share co-writing credit on that as well. So it feels like those two groups just sort of got together and said, let's write a letter about Ferry Avenue. And of course, Ferry Avenue was how people used to get from, get on the ferry to get from Camden to Philly and back and forth before the advent of, the Ben Franklin and the Commodore Barry and all of those bridges and all of that good stuff and the Walt Whitman. But yes, and Get Down with the Philly sound. That is what it says. I mean, this is basically MFSB's calling card. This is Philly International's calling card. So interesting because a guy that we don't talk about enough when we talk about Philly soul sort of rising in the late 60s and early 70s is the late Weldon Arthur McDougal III. Like, that man had his hands in everything. He wrote, he produced, he designed the Philly International logos, for crying out loud. Like, Weldon McDougal was just one of those dudes that if you knew Philly, you knew Weldon. If you knew Philly soul, you knew Weldon. And I think he's one of the guys that I really missed having a chance to interview. There are 3 guys from Philadelphia International and Philly soul that passed away around the time I thought about starting this podcast that have since transitioned. Weldon McDougal, Tom Bell, and most recently Dexter Wansell. We'll talk about Dexter Wansell in a minute. And Dexter Wansell's 2 songs on this album are unmistakably Dexter. When Your Love Is Gone, that one is absolutely just electro jazz funk, sort of telling the tale of what electro funk would be, and it was jazz fusiony, all in that same vein. And Morning Tears. Morning Tears is a special song to those of us who are fans of the iconic Mississippi rapper Big Crit, Third Coast representative. Crit sampled this song for Boobie Miles, and Boobie Miles is from the Forever and a Day. And Boobie Miles, of course, was on Friday Night Lights, as we all know, and he was an athlete who just couldn't get right. He was like one of the black dudes in that town, if I'm not mistaken, because I never watched Friday Night Lights in full. But a Crit sampled Morning Tears for Boobie Miles, and that really just sort of got people of a different generation on the Dexter Wansell bandwagon. Everybody was like, wow, what is this song that Crit sampled? And then when people found out it was Morning Tears, and then people who dug deeper into Dexter Wansell's catalog, it's like, oh, he was great. No kidding. No kidding. Like I said, he's one of the dudes. In fact, I tried to find contact information for him as recently as a few months ago. And then I saw that he passed, like, the day before Black Music Month started. I said, ain't this a bitch? But yes, Dexter Wansell, like I said, When Your Love Is Gone is just really, really funky. And then Morning Tears is like the aftermath of that. And it just tells you a story. It tells you a story in full. And then, of course, there's Brothers and Sisters, which was co-written by Harold Johnson, Kenny, and Bobby Martin. And this is Kenny really just trying to, get that community feeling again, not just for the city of Philadelphia and the black community, but MFSB as well. Brothers, sisters, like, now's the time to, get yourself together and make up your mind and all of that good stuff. And by that time, the guys who were going to SalSoul had already made up their minds. Don't call us, we'll call you. That was pretty much how it went. And the album closes with an incredibly unbelievable track that I'm still trying to find a meaning to, even though it's just an instrumental, but it is a hard-hitting instrumental. The first thing you hear is Earl Young's drum, boom, 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 and then the horns, dun, they're all at the same time, by the way. Bum, 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 the zip, bum, 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 the zip, bum, 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 bum. Somebody, if you are a Philly soul veteran, if you are a Philadelphia native of a different generation, I was born in 1981. So this album came out 5.5 years before I was born. Well, not quite 5.5 years, just a little under 6 years, because I was born in September of 81. This album came out in November 75. Anybody who was around in Philadelphia in 1975, please help me out. Is the zip a dance? Is it a style of dress? Is it a swagger? Is it what was the zip? It's just so funny. All you hear in that whole song is just bah, 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 the zip, The zip. Dun, 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 zip. Dun, dun, dun. I love that song, even though I don't know what the hell it means. It could just be an instrumental that they just decided to call the zip, and that was the end of it. But I'm gonna find, this is what I do as a music historian and an aspiring music historian. I'm trying to find out the meaning of every song that I don't know the meaning of, that I can interpret anyway. So, Philly International, people, you Philly soul aficionados, you Philadelphia people who grew up in Philly in the 70s, what was the zip? Help your boy out. Really appreciate you. But yes, Philadelphia Freedom ended up going top 20 on the R&B and dance charts. Didn't make much of a dent on the Billboard Hot 100. In fact, didn't even hit the Billboard Hot 100 for albums. But this was the end of that original run of guys of Earl Young, Norman Harris, and Ron Baker, and Bobby Eli, and those guys. And then you started to get, people like Charles Collins and other folks, playing, Keith Benson, Carlos brother, different folks playing on drums for Philly International. You had different guitarists coming in, different keyboardists, and different bass players. Anthony Jackson played a big role on this album and Summertime, and we'll talk more about that when we get to Summertime. But yes, Philadelphia Freedom, I did call Universal Love the last ride, didn't I? I did. But Philadelphia Freedom is really just the way that those guys chose to end the original run of Philly soul hits. Universal Love and Philadelphia Freedom, they're not bad albums at all. I mean, they're both great albums, but I'll let you guys interpret. Which ones do you prefer? Do you like Universal Love or do you like Philadelphia Freedom better from MFSB? Let's talk about it. That's going to do it for this edition of MFSB Monday here on the Groove Line. Thank you, wonderful people, for tuning in. Contact information will be in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe, tap that notification bell so you're notified of all new videos that drop on this channel. And don't forget to like and comment on these videos because, as you know by now, your boy talks back in the comments. So thank you guys for riding with me on the Groove Line. And until the next time we ride, may you find the groove or may the groove find you.